Okay, let's bake some bread. In one bowl you add 800 grams of bread flour, and then in a separate bowl 10 grams of active yeast, and in that same bowl with the yeast 640 grams lukewarm water, in with the flour 10 grams of salt, and then you stir the yeast and the water together, get the yeast to dilute into the water, and that mix you add to the flour. Then you stir it around with a spoon and just try and get it all to come together nicely into like a homogeneous mass. Once it's together, close it and let it rest for half an hour. After half an hour, this is called stretching and folding. You stick your hand underneath the dough and you pull it and tuck it over itself. This is to activate and get gluten development. Let it rest for another half an hour and stretch and fold again. After stretching and folding, close it back up and let it rest for another half an hour. You'll see at this point that the dough pulls away from the bowl and it's starting to develop some strength into the dough. This is the last rest. At this point you flour your countertop and you ease the dough out of the bowl. Lightly dust with flour and then divide it up into 3 equal parts, because it'll give you sort of 3 medium-sized loaves. At this point you do a very sort of gentle shaping, and this is called a bench rest. Once you have all 3 of them shaped into sort of a round buell, you just let it rest for about 10-15 minutes maximum, depending on the ambient temperature. If it's very hot, I'd go maximum 10 minutes, but if it's a coolish sort of day, 15 minutes is fine. Then after the bench rest, you go into the final shaping, and that you shape it into the form that you want. But basically you need to stretch the outside of the dough over itself, that you create, they call it structural forming. So you tuck it in over itself, make a seam, and then roll it that the outside stretches, so you get like a smooth skin, and that will give it structure when it rises in the oven. Once the shaping is done, you lightly dust it with some more flour, and that's just to prevent the plastic cover from sticking. If I don't want it to stick, I'll prop things under it to just keep the plastic away from the flour. Let it rise for 30 minutes. Put a baking tray at the bottom of your oven and set the oven temperature to 250 degrees Celsius and let it preheat. After 30 minutes, you remove the plastic cover off your loaves, and now it's time for scoring the bread. You can get creative here. I prefer a long score. It makes the bread tear open quite nicely like that, but there's 100 ways of doing this. It's all up to you. You can really experiment here and have a lot of fun. After scoring, place the bread in the oven. I put it quite high into the oven, the highest part that I can, that it doesn't touch the element, and then I throw a handful of ice into that preheated baking tray. Bake it for 15 minutes at 250 degrees Celsius, and then another 30 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. And that's it. Your bread will be ready. Leave it for half an hour to 40 minutes to cool before you eat it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do like it, please share, comment, Tell me what you think. And I hope you do some great breads. If you do bake some breads, please feel free to send me some pictures or comments or questions. I'd enjoy getting your feedback. Good luck. Happy baking.